I'm the executive director of the Honor Bowl. And the reason why we want to bring you ladies together so we can, to get you guys together and talk to you about the mission of the Honor Bowl and why you have been invited to be in this event. The Honor Bowl is considered the best high school football showcase in America. And there's a reason why we do this. And the reason why you were invited too. It's a big thing, guys, and I want you to hear the heart of the Honor Bowl and why it happens, all right? I was a high school football coach just like Jesus. I served 18 years as a high school football coach, but the difference is I had two boys that were playing ball for me, and at that time, 9/11 happened. And they saw the towers fall, and I remember my boys coming home with their buddies, and they were all sitting around the TV, and they were crying, and they just couldn't believe what they saw. And here they were, just freshmen and sophomores. And I remember my boys looking at me and saying, "Dad, we're going to go serve. We're going to go fight, Dad." And I was thinking, God, they're just young kids. They're not going to go do that, right? They're going to forget. Well, as the wars went on, I started, when they got to be juniors and seniors, I realized that the recruiters were starting to call. And my boys, all of a sudden, were coming home from school saying, "Dad, we want to go fight. We want to go serve." Oh, I get emotional telling the story. I've told it hundreds of times. So anyways, it wasn't soon after when they were getting ready to graduate. Early enlistment came along. One boy chose to go Marines. The other boy chose to go Army. And it was at that time where my whole life just changed. Because when you have a loved one that goes and fight, the family serves too. And that's exactly what happened to our family. They had terrible deployments. One to Iraq, one was on an Asia Pacific mule, but the one in 2010 is the one that changed my life and is what started this event. See, when my boy was a Marine, they were being sent to an area in Afghanistan that he never told me about. So we would go to Camp Pendleton and we'd get all the Marines together and we'd throw a party for them. We'd buy a keg of beer, we'd pop it open and say, "Okay guys, come together. Let's have a party before you guys go and get some." But this one was different. My boy never told me where in Afghanistan he was going. So on this particular party, he grabs me by the shoulder and says, "Dad, let's take a walk." And I'm like, "What are you doing? Are you leaving your friends? What do you want to do?" He goes, "Dad, I need to tell you where we're going." So while we're taking a walk, he's got his arm around my shoulder, is when he tells me, "Dad, we're going to this area in Afghanistan called Sing. Do yourself a favor, don't Google it." What do you think I did? Immediately got my phone out, I'm looking at Sing in Afghanistan, and I'm learning that the British Royal Marines were here fighting, and over a period of 2-year time, they lost over 200 men, and hundreds had lost their legs. This is where my son, the 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, were going. And I learned days before they got on that plane to go. Freaked me out. I'm crying, I'm going, "Son, is this where you're going?" "Yes, Dad, that's where I'm going." 2 weeks later, they're landing in their fob. And my son tells me later that as they're lying in the fob, they hear this pinging coming off the skin of their helicopter. While they were landing in the relative safety of their fob, they were getting shot at. They looked out the window and they were surrounded by white flags. Now what do we think of when we think of white flags? Surrender, right? Not to the Taliban. The Taliban would put sheets on the ground and in black spray paint would spray paint, "Death to the Americans, death to the infidels." That's you and I, guys. They landed in their fob, they acclimated, and the first patrol leaves out the gate. And as it leaves out that gate, around a mile down the road, they hear this boom! They radio, guys, you just left. Are you guys okay? Guys, are you all right? Radio silence. They mount up. Something happened to that patrol that just left. They head out the fob. They drive a mile, and when they arrive on the scene, they realize that that vehicle that they were in, with 4 Marines in it, the bomb was so big that was set off underneath that vehicle that it lifted it up in the air, twisted it like a corkscrew, and instantly, before that Humvee hit the ground, 4 Marines were instantly killed. This is where it gets freaky, guys. I'm at home in Sacramento, California. I get a phone call from a friend of mine that lives up the street and says, Coach, I just heard something happened next door to my friends, and it's not good. I saw Marines leave their house. I heard crying. Something happened to their son. Your son's a Marine, right? And I go, yes, son. Or, yes, sir. Yeah, my son's a Marine. I go, give me the name of the family. I want to call them. And this is when I called them and I realized that they were in a plane going to get their son's body at Dover Air Force Base. And the Marine that was killed, I coached in football. Life-changing. Life-changing. So I find out who they are, and I'm talking to them. I'm going, Patty, Tom, is there anything I could do for you? And they said, Coach, if you could just help us with the media. The media is calling us like crazy. If you could just control it. I said, I'll be happy to do that. They went and got their son's body. They brought him home to Sacramento. And as I was getting to talk to them, and as we were crying around a table, they looked over at me and said, Coach, will you eulogize our son? Why do you want me? I want you to eulogize our son. I did it. I did it. Changed my life. I saw that casket come, the flag draped over it. I saw it lowered into the ground. We buried him. 2 days later, I get a phone call. It's my son from Afghanistan. Dad, oh, son, are you okay? Is everything all right? Dad, my colonel says a coach buried Victor Dew. Was that you, Dad? I said, yes, son. I eulogized Victor Dew. He goes, Dad, I was there. I was the first vehicle. I cut him out of the vehicle. Changed. As a football coach, I had to do something to get back. As a football coach, I needed to do something to say, what can we do to help these men that are losing their legs, that are coming back in flag-draped coffins? What do we do? So I got together with my partner, Rick. I got together with my partner, Patty, and we started the Honor Bowl. This is the event that you are in. I wanted you to hear the heart of this event. I wanted you to understand why we do this event. It's not just about playing a football game. It's much more than that. It's about, by the spirit of your athleticism, you're giving back. While you're out there playing a game, this is your way of saying thank you. Got it? I want you to meet a 3rd Battalion, 5th Marine. His name is Freddie Torres. Let's give a clap for Freddie Torres.
So thank you for having me. Tremendous honor, privilege to be up here. Arizona born and raised, Tucson, 2 hours south from here. So to bring the Honor Bowl to Arizona, it's massive, something we've been waiting for a long time, and it's finally here. So Coach just talked about 3-5, the 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines out of Camp Pendleton, California. It's outside of San Diego. I served with that battalion 2006, 2012. I joined the Marine Corps right after high school in 2006. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about a little bit about October 13th and a couple of months after that. October 13th is when we lost those 4 Marines in Afghanistan. I was a couple of miles down the street from that big explosion. December 30th, 2010, there was a patrol out, a whole squad of 25 Marines patrolling on their first foot patrol dismounted. So they were walking around the village, talking to the local nationals, gaining intelligence, and doing what they did every day and patrolling. On their way back to their patrol base, the PV, they were making entry back to the patrol base, and on the back of the patrol, one of the Marines stepped on an IED, an improvised explosive device, a roadside bomb. That bomb was 25 pounds big. That bomb was made to completely kill every single one of those Marines on that patrol. Thankfully, only about 4 pounds of that explosives went off. That Marine that stepped on it, his foot was shattered, broken ankle. They got him on a stretcher and got him out of there. Made it, he's fine. Now, there's about 20 pounds of extra homemade explosives still sitting out there that the Marines had to go blow in place so that Taliban wouldn't use it against them. So the squad leader, who was a sergeant at the time, made a decision, hey, instead of taking all 25 Marines out again, let's take out 4, one will blow it, and the other 3 will hold security. So they went out there, they placed a stick of demolition down, pulled the wire. 3 Marines around the corner were holding security for him. And from the east, about 200 meters, as he's getting ready to pull the demolition and blow the rest of the explosives, the Taliban opens up. They open up with their machine guns and start firing at those Marines. The sergeant, once he starts receiving fire, he raises his weapon up and starts running in the direction of the fire from the Taliban where they're firing from. He runs about 25, 30 meters, shooting back at them, and he gets to a little divot, a waist-high wall. And once he gets behind there, he was going to take a knee and start shooting back. He falls on his back, and he looks down, and he realizes his uniform is filled in red. He had been shot twice, and he didn't even know it. Once he started looking down, he looks out to his left, and here comes one of those team leaders that was holding security, sprinting in, slides in, he grabs his medical scissors out, cuts his pants off, and blood was gushing out. His femoral artery had been shot. He had less than 2 minutes to live. So the team leader calls over the radio and it says, "Give me that quick reaction force. I need a stretcher out here now. My sergeant is dying if we don't get him out of here." So he puts his fingers on the wound, he puts his palm on it, puts some gauze on it, applies a tourniquet, controls the bleeding for a second. Here comes a stretcher, they bring it out, they put him on it. On the count of 3, they're going to pick him up and move him out of there. On the count of 3, everyone opened up, and they picked up the sergeant, and all guns opened up on the Taliban as they were moving him out. They had about 100 meters to go before they got to the gate where there was a truck backed up waiting to put him in there. As he's getting carried out, the sergeant on the stretcher puts his hand up to his left hand, or his left side, and he grabs the other sergeant that's carrying him out, one of his best friends, and he squeezes his hand and he says these last words to him. "Tell my mom I love her, and tell my boys I'm sorry." He squeezes one more time and he says, "Tell my mom I love her, and tell my boys I'm sorry." Drops his hand, they get him in the truck, they get him out of Afghanistan into Germany, they get his body back to San Diego, where he started his recovery process. That sergeant lived. January 2011, the doctors told him, "Your leg's getting amputated, it's gone. It's going to be gone next week. By the way, you're getting medically retired because you can't serve with a prosthetic." That sergeant took it upon himself and he gave that doctor a challenge. He said, "Give me a couple of weeks, let me start physical therapy and see how this works out for me." The doctor agreed, and the 2 to 3 physical therapies a week turned into 2 to 3 physical therapies a day. 2 to 3 times a week turned into every single day, multiple times a day, in and out of the gym, in and out of the pool. And he was fighting back because he did not want his leg to get amputated. That was January 2011. The battalion was due back in California, back from that deployment, April of 2011, just a few months after that. Slowly, he got himself out of a wheelchair, got himself out of a walker, got himself off the crutches, started jogging, started running, because his challenge and his goal was that April 2011, when the battalion landed at that Air Force base and that staircase came down, he was going to stand there and greet his entire squad members. Now, those 3 months were not easy. They were hard, challenging, a lot of setbacks, a lot of surgeries, a lot of appointments. But I'll tell you right now, April 15, 2011, when that plane landed at March Air Force Base in Riverside, California, and that staircase came down, I stood at the bottom of that staircase. I hugged every single one of my squad members that saved my life on December 30th, 2010. That was me. When my doctor told me that my leg's getting amputated, I fought back. I took it as a challenge. I don't share that story to put myself up here. I share it with you because I faced a lot of challenges, a lot of adversities, a lot of setbacks, a lot of roadblocks, hit a lot of walls, just like some of you might be hitting that in life. Sure, I hit it with a medical procedure, an injury, but for the longest time, I'll tell you, I had shame and guilt in sharing this story. It wasn't until about 2 years ago where I opened up about it. I had a lot of shame because I let my squad down. I had a lot of guilt because I left halfway through the deployment. I made the decision to go back out there, blow that explosive in place, and I left my Marines out there. That's how I felt about it. The best part of this whole story, 2 years ago, God brought me to my knees. And he said, you're no longer a Marine. That's not your identity. Your identity now is to serve me, surrender, submit, give everything to God, let go of the shame, let go of the guilt. And I did that. I was obedient, and I gave everything to God. And now I get to minister to youth, high schoolers just like you every single week through my youth program at my local church. I get to minister to young adults, and I get to minister and lead in a men's Bible study group. And I truly believe that God kept me around, even though it took me 14 years to finally share this story, or 12, 13 years to finally share this story. I'm blessed to stand up here and share this story with you. So when you go out there, you're going to see some banners, and you're going to see the 25 faces of the Marines that didn't make it back. From October 7th, 2010 to January 20th, 2011, 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines lost 25 Marines. And here I thought I was going to be on one of those banners, my face. And I was really close, but God kept me around for a reason. So whatever it is you're going through in life, not just an injury, not just out on the field, a relationship, family, finances, whatever it is, know that it's all mental and you can get through it as you push through it. Thank you again for having me. Good luck the rest of the season. God bless every single one of you.
First Sergeant Freddie Torres. All right, guys. All right, so I have some real quick friends I want to introduce you to. This is Rick Sutter. You know those great graphics that you see on Instagram and Facebook and all that? That's the guy that's been doing those. Give Rick a hand. You guys might be on a few of those. This is Patty Schumacher. Patty, come here. The story of Victor Dew that I told you about. This is her son. This is Patty Schumacher, Gold Star mom. Let's give it up for Patty. All right, some hospitality stuff. Coach, come here. So we have a gift for the girls, all right? And what it is, it's a band, an honorable band, right? They're your sizes. They're not going to be too loose, right? So please, every girl gets one of those, all right? When we announce you through the flag, coach, or through the banner, or we're just going to be announcing you from the quarter of the touchdown zone, who is going to be the young lady that you would like to have carry the flag and lead your team out?
That's a tough one, dude. We're going to go with our quarterback, though, Tierra Metcalf.
Where's Tierra? All right, Tierra. Okay. So when I call your name over to the end zone and we're going to announce you for the start of your game, I'm going to hand you the flag. All right. When music comes on and you hear the guy announce you, you run out and have fun with that flag. Okay. It makes for great pictures, by the way. All right. After the game, one of you will be getting the character winner. Your coach will pick the athlete that exhibited the best character sportsmanship on the field today, all right? So he'll tell us, and at the end, we'll all kneel up on the 50-yard line, and one of you will be getting the character award. Also, the media in attendance, there's Max Preps here, there's Ober, there's all types of people here. One of them is going to choose you to be the MVP, all right? So we'll give you that award on the football field. And then directly after that, we will be giving this coach the honorable championship trophy, right? Right? Yeah. All right, guys, get up, stand up. Once again, ladies, hands in. Once again, ladies, thank you so much. Arms up. The Marines of 3-5 have a saying, and that's get some, all right? So when I say 3-5, you yell get some. Got it? 3-5!
Get some!
3-5!
Get some!
3-5!
Get some!
Woo! Go get some, ladies, go.